Welcome back to KTN Prime. We continue with our deliberations right here in studio. I'm joined by Kasim Tandazo, the Member of Parliament from Matuga constituency, and Robert Basil, the Member of Parliament from Yatta constituency. We continue evaluating the political developments happening in the country, and let's just juxtapose ourselves with the President's Mount Kenya Development Tour, which has officially kick-started today as he launched and inspected some development projects in Laikipia and Nyeri counties. He's set to tour Meru and Kirinyaga counties tomorrow. This being the President's first tour of the restive region since the impeachment of the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. The President, in his tour, has dismissed concerns about political tension in the region, saying the tour aims to update voters on his administration's progress. Basil, I'd like to begin with you on this matter, because from where you sit, is the President's Mount Kenya Development Tour a homecoming or a reckoning? And is development dictated by politics in this country?
That's a good question. First, if the motive is political, then the President is on a wrong footing. Number one, the mountain, after the impeachment of Gachagua, have already moved on. They have completely abandoned the President. And if you want to know whether what I'm saying is true or not, you need to revisit history when Uhuru was convincing them to actually be with his government, Jubilee government. The Mount Kenya said, in principle, we are done with you. And that's why Jubilee lost almost all the seats in 2022. A replica of the same is likely to happen in 2027. So if President is doing the tour on a political motive or intention, then he's wrong. These guys have already moved on. It's just forget about the votes there, because they are gone. Even if you take everything there or the budget to Mount Kenya, these people will not come back to Kenya Kwanza. That's a closed chapter. If you are doing it on account of being the President to tour the nation, because when you are the end of state, you have the mandate to visit all areas of the country. The same applies to us as leaders. Like, for example, I don't serve the people who voted for me. I serve everyone because you're not in the campaign time. It is time for service. So if the President is doing it on account of serving Kenyans, then that's okay. But if he's touring to please the mountain or to think he's going to bridge or to cleanse the issues he has with the former deputy, then that is a lie. These guys are going to dupe you, take what you're bringing to them, and eventually they'll continue on their path. And the path is to do vengeance or to punish the Kenya Kwanza government. Now they'll do it through the votes. We are here. Me and you will see the outcome in 2027. So in principle, when it comes to service, let it be service. Remember, it's not time for politics. I'm actually surprised when I see all these rallies the President has been holding. Because when you set the path of politics, then you completely mess up with development. Look at a country like Tanzania. They are going to election next year. We don't even show what is happening in our TV station, simply because they know how to separate politics and development. They know the time of politics. The time set for politicking is 2 months. That's supposed to be 30th May 2027. That is the official time when politics is declared by IEBC. But if we do politics from day one, imagine, you have voted today and the WhatsApp groups, they change the name. If it's 2022, they start saying 2027. On the same day, election has just ended. So these are very bad precedents, and we need to drop this if this country will have a move to become a proper middle-income country. But if we continue the way we are doing things, we're still talking the same stories. I've already said 61 years down the line, the country is still grappling with poverty, diseases, and illiteracy. So it doesn't need a genius to tell you we are not doing things the right way. And we must change our way of doing business and our ways of governance for us to get this country from the level it is to the next level.
So Kasim, as you come in and perhaps evaluate the president's day one of his development tour in the Mount Kenya region, do you think Ruto is shouldering the blame of alienating leaders perceived to be aligned to Rigathi Gachagua?
Is there any leader who has been alienated?
Well, if you look at the committees and the purge that has happened there, some actually question.
You see, Joseph, and I've been in parliament now, this is my second term.
True.
And for every beginning of the parliamentary term, committees are formed. You are unlikely to get the committee that you'll get, isn't it? Yeah. Because of regional balancing, party politics, and all that. You'll get allocated those positions by your wish, but you're unlikely to get the committee that you want. And there are some committees whose life, after 2 years, they have to be reconstituted. Why one thinks that he has a right to be in a particular committee or chair a committee? Who said that I wouldn't want to chair the budget committee? Who said, in any case, I'm an engineer, I would be chairing the transport committee, probably. That is where I would fit in. You see, who said that this position is a reserve for a particular person? And that is where our problem is. We normally associate a position with an individual to the extent that once that one goes, it's like now, and unfortunately in Kenya, it's not an individual, it's now transcended to a community. That we used to hold this as a community, now it has been taken away, now we are going to retaliate. And probably the reason why the community thinks so, especially if we are to zero down to the particular committee that what people want to talk about, that is the budget committee. He's been a member of parliament like me. He knows what the chair used to do, the budget that he will take to his constituency particularly. So probably that will make the constituents feel bad because they'll never get it. It is there on record. You see, we sit that one would ask, what did you do when that, but you know the budget mocking process starts from the executive to the committee. By the time it comes to the plenary, you can actually do very little. You can only comment and lament that this shouldn't have been this way. And even after that, it still goes back to the committee, you see. So with that kind of leadership, certainly it wasn't even good. It would not have helped this country moving that way. He has put it correctly. Since independence, he has 6 kilometers. You said 6 kilometers of tarmac.
Yes.
Since independence, we have 16 kilometers of tarmac. I would want to challenge you. Let's go to Kiharu and find out. He was doing now cab roads and tarmacs to primary schools, not on the highways, simply because he was the chairman of budget. Is that good for that country? If one is to ask, certainly no. So there is no purge. I wouldn't take it as a purge. And I think when the president normally does his reshuffle or reorganization, he puts it that I'm doing it for better service delivery. So whatever happened, certainly we hope those who are given those responsibilities now will be sensitive enough to the needs of all Kenyans and give services to the people. He goes to Mount Kenya. It's a development tour. We know how much comes with a presidential visit in a county, in a constituency. I don't know whether he's visited your constituency, but the last time he visited my constituency 2 months ago, we know that we, apart from just commissioning a level 3 hospital in Kongani, he also, with the CS of Health, he also plans to bring in more equipment. Of course, through the CS Health, the Minister of Health, to bring in more equipment. When that equipment comes, it is for the good of the people. Certainly, if we had not come to see with his own eyes that this is what is lacking, we might not have gotten that. So I believe as he moves around in Mount Kenya, that is the idea. But again, it cannot go without saying that in Kenya we have a unique way of living politically. Development and politics move at the same pace. Since independence, the reason why other areas are marginalized, it's not about resources. It's about the politics of those days, where if the president comes from that area, if the politics favor that area, then they also get them. And I don't think that will change soon. Is it the ideal situation? Certainly not. But for as long as that is the reality, then be it. Take advantage of the political situation as it exists so that you can at least help your people. Otherwise, it is not the ideal situation, I want to repeat. But that is the reality. And I don't think it is going to change. Even after the 10 years of Ruto, whoever will come in, I believe that is the same situation. Give me 1 minute to comment on what my colleague said about Tanzania. I border Tanzania myself. It is not true that they are not politicking. These people are more or less like us. Probably they are not as tribal as we are. But I can, for as long as I can remember, Akina Tundu Lissu and whatever kept on politicking immediately after the last general election up to now. Our colleagues in Uganda here, if you look at it, they've been politicking.
No, but in Uganda, no elections.
They've been politicking all through.
Okay,
you see.
okay.
So this is a unique way, but all the same, life continues. Politics and development go together in
hand
Kenya.
in hand.
Yeah, for sure.
When he makes reference to Tanzania,
Yeah.
he doesn't know that I've lived there for a couple of years
Yeah.
and I have investments there. So I know more than he does when it comes to Tanzania.
Okay.
Apart from tribal politics, Tanzania, they are more cohesive. At the level of politicking they do is not our politics here.
For
Remember,
sure.
our politics is ethnicized.
True.
For example, he has already agreed that when the president comes, of course, he comes with goodies. But when you ask him, where does he get these resources that he's promising every time he visits an area? He takes from the budget. So it means the areas where taxpayers' money will never support development in those areas and at the expense of other areas. For example, assume now by the end of his first term, we will not have 2 other areas or the 290 constituencies. So the areas you will not have visited, they'll be disadvantaged.
Okay.
And those people in those areas pay taxes.
Yeah.
I've already made reference to myself when I'm serving my constituents. I never discriminate or selectively direct services to areas where I feel I got more votes.
Okay.
But you serve all the people so that you bridge the level of development and have some level of equilibrium when it comes to development. That is what we have been talking about. Because the kind of disparity we see in this country is huge. And it is perpetuated by the mindset which Tandas and others have, where they say it has been happening like this and it should continue. No, it is time to correct mistakes that have happened since 1963. And that is a simple reason why some people like myself offered to serve.
Okay.
Otherwise I would have sat back and start lamenting, saying this country will remain like this and this. But we must be part of that change. Not to say because the situation has remained like as it is from 1963, so the status quo remains. No.
Tell me this, is this one of the mistakes we need to correct? Because we have allegations that were fronted by the Muranga woman rep Betty Maina, who confirmed that she, together with other legislators from Mount Kenya who visited the president at State House last week, were given TSC employment letters. She told those leaders who did not attend the meeting that they missed TSC slots for their constituencies just because they didn't go to a meeting at State House, Nairobi. So we don't know if this is true or not, but it's something in the public gallery. So we can definitely comment on it. Because you've talked about some of the issues that we need to correct. Is this one of them? Because as per the Constitution, only the Teacher Service Commission has the power to hire and fire teachers and not State House.
Correct. If indeed that Betty Maina, what she's claiming, if she got those forms, and I tend to think Tandasa can maybe confirm because I'm a member of UD and I was in State House.
No, I was not in that meeting.
If indeed the president did that, that is so wrong and is actually a shame to the taxpayers and the needy teachers who have never been employed. Do you know there are teachers who left college in 2013, 2014, 2012? Someone who is almost approaching the last, or what you call the expiry period, when someone should be absorbed in the TSC service. So if you are the head of state and for sure you issued or gave some forms to certain members of parliament, then that was so wrong. And actually is a shame. If I was the president, I would even summon some of these members of parliament. And if indeed they receive those forms, then it is so wrong. Because remember, as I've said, Kenyans pay taxes and they want to see accountability of these taxes. TSC is the only institution mandated to employ teachers. We saw it last year when the former CS, Machong, was dishing out forms in a certain rally.
Yes.
So these are the issues that all Kenyans are worried about. And I would expect the president to issue a statement, or the office of the president, to tell us whether indeed that was true.
Okay.
Because, I mean, just assume all of us, like members, selectively go and you are given forms. And there are Kenyans out there who are voiceless, who would want to be employed, because it's their right as Kenyans to serve in that capacity. So it's all wrong, and we should not allow it, neither entertain it. So I don't know whether you can confirm or whether you are also a beneficiary of the forms that were given.
I wasn't in that meeting. I really respect constitutional offices like TSC and any other office. But it goes without saying that these offices have not been fair to Kenyans as a whole. That is also a fact. How can it be, with the existence of TSC, that in some constituencies you have a shortage of almost like 50% of the teaching fraternity in schools? Parents have to hire what they call PTA teachers, pay those teachers, when we know very well that teachers should be paid by TSC. And yet, there are some areas where they have excess teachers by the same TSC. It is easy to say we can fire the CEO of TSC, but remember, this is a constitutional office. It's not going to be easy for those who are benefiting if they are the majority, and it has happened before. Because I would want to take a specific example about what we used to have the Constitution created a fund, especially to address the issue of marginalization. But unfortunately, those who are marginalized, when it comes to parliament, are fewer than those who are benefiting. So it ended up being spread everywhere, including Kiambu and Nyeri and everywhere, that they are also marginalized. So it's no longer working. So that is the same situation. And what is the duty of a president anyway? You are like the father figure, isn't it? If you see that things are not going correctly, you cannot just sit back and say, let it go because it is not my mandate. Remember, people voted you. You know, even those officers are under you. You can take charge. Otherwise, I would agree with him to some extent that if they were given on basis of loyalty to an individual without regard to the need on the ground, then that would be wrong. But if it is being given to correct a wrong, to clear that deficit, if I were to be given 100 TSC forms and I have a deficit of 200, that is fine. If I go to Nancy Macharia, I will not get them. My people will still be suffering. No, just let's face it. You know, we've said there is the ideal situation and the reality on the ground.
You know,
there is the ideal situation. You are talking about the ideal situation, which is okay. What you are saying is the ideal situation.
Okay.
But don't you have shortage in your constituency?
And I agree on,
how are we going to
side,
correct that?
Issues of marginalization.
Yes.
But what the president should have done, because remember, is the one steering the wheel. Through profiling, empirical data, to show which areas have been disadvantaged, he should have given now directives to TSC in an open manner for targeted intervention. For example, if Matunga constituency has a deficit of, let's say, 300 teachers, and in my constituency I have a deficit of about 200 teachers, for example, then he should have given directive in an open manner to TSC, please give more slots to Matunga, followed by Yatta, followed like that. You know, in a sequential manner and in a transparent manner. But if you call few selective, you know, few members of parliament who you feel they are friendly to your government and you issue them forms, that is wrong. Remember, as I've said, when you are elected, you are not there to serve people who voted for you. And you are the father finger. So you should bring all their kids together and distribute what you have equitably. And that is going to put more trust to the presidency and bring cohesion in the country. That is what we all should see.
All right.
But if you do it selectively, then it means Kenya will start asking themselves, now,
there are two issues which you are not.
Where is that father finger of the end of state, which we want to see?
Whatever Betty said is the truth. And even if, assuming it's the truth, I would want to get the statement from Jesse when he said, those who didn't go. It's not that they were told not to come.
But it was an invitation given to everybody.
No, from the statement is that those who didn't go, not those who
but
were
not
told to go.
So if
you know, the invitation was,
you don't get TSC.
But the invitation was
you might not get it on the spot. No. You see now, if I was invited for this interview, I have an opportunity to debate, isn't it? Or to expound.
True.
Assuming I didn't come, would you have conducted this interview in my house unless probably you're interviewing the president or the deputy or something of that stage? That's the reality. Where, and again, us as members of parliament, we represent our people. We are supposed to take advantage of every opportunity in parliament. Don't you go to CS's office sometimes?
Yeah, but
say,
let me...
How come this project is delaying? Why should you go there? Because you will say that is the duty of the CS. If the dam doesn't happen, that is his problem. But it's a problem.
Tandasa, there is something he's not telling me. You see, for example, those who went... Those who went to settle, they went on basis of invitation. So if the president wanted to have a fair engagement with the members and to understand the level of representation from a TSC point of view, he should have invited their 290 members of parliament and tell us, you, for example, Yatta, tell us the level of employment of your of teachers. Then he moves to the other constituency. And based on the information we give him, then he could give a directive in an open manner. But he only invited a few. And then here he's telling me, if you are, I mean, State House is not like
I have to move on.
It's not like CS office where CS you can knock and get there.
In case the president doesn't happen to go to Yatta and they're not called to State House, he might not end up getting those TSC.
I can assure you the president will go to every constituency in this country. He's the president of this country and there is no constituency that will not go.
But do you support the move of calling few members of parliament and giving them 24 hours?
When the president is visiting your constituency or your county, he would normally want to have a meeting with you. It's not about Mount Kenya, it's not about Kwale, it's not about Western. Everywhere, before he visits, he will normally call the elected leaders. Whether you go or not, that is you. But the moment he'll be coming to Machakos County and has done that, he has had a meeting with members. So it's not discriminatory. And when you go there, then you will tell him the salient points about your constituency. If it's an opposition to sort it out, why should it not be sorted out?
I have to ask you, Basil, because the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya coalition, at least those who are still remaining within Azimio, Kalonzo, Wamalwa, Karua and the likes, have vowed to oppose the IEBC chair nominee if they're excluded. I'm sort of trying to understand what exactly they're driving to. Allow me to quote what one of the leaders said. The NADCO report was clear between the opposition and the government. Right now, Raila is in the government. We're not part of the broad-based government. So it's not proper for Raila and Ruto to have discussions on their own. It would go against the NADCO report. So this seems to be perhaps the new legal battlefront that we might be looking into in the next few months. Are these reservations credible, or it's simply down to political interference in the recruitment process?
You know, Kenyans, including yourself, would you want a fair selection of the IEBC chairperson?
Briefly, yes.
That is what all Kenyans would want to see. And you know, for you to have a fair one, of course, all parties should be involved. Particularly, as you know, to give an oversee kind of approach when it comes to the recruitment process. And you see, if such a thing is not happening, then the members or the political class would feel agitated. And that's why you saw the, the kind of statement being issued.
But didn't Azimio nominate people to the selection panel?
Yeah, but you see, when you talk of Azimio, as we all, and we can correctly say it, Raila is no longer officially within the Azimio coalition. He's already on the other side. So we should expect at least the most senior, the senior most Azimio member, that is His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka, to be on the table, basically, to represent the coalition in a more meaningful way and to at least give the proper oversight so that the process could be as transparent as possible, because the credibility of the chairperson depends on the process. If the process is not well followed, then anyone would want to say, hey, if you are going to that match and the other referee is already compromised. how will the the performance
in a minute or less?
Yeah,
Yes,
Kalonzo is putting himself, is giving credibility to that tag of being a watermelon. Remember, it was none other than Kalonzo who was sitting in the NADCO committee, not Raila, not whoever. He was the one representing Azimio. And the process of nominating IEBC Commissioner had started before that, and it has to be stopped until he agreed that these are the people to be nominated. When he was a co-chair in the NADCO report, what else does he expect later on to come and say the process is wrong after he himself sat as a co-chair on that report? We are basically the nominating bodies, Law Society of Kenya, religious bodies, all the other
representatives.
Yeah, they were actually endorsed by none other than Kalonzo, so not even by Raila. You see, so I don't know. Maybe assess that.
I think at Tandasa, you need to apologize.
Which one to apologize?
By making reference to water. The person
the
who deserves the person who deserves the watermelon is Raila Odinga. Remember, Raila was actually one side condemning the action of this government. Now he's the one saying things are okay.
He did sit on the
You just play the clips what he was saying about Adani deals. Now what is he saying? So who is the real the right person? The right person to carry the tag of watermelon. When it comes to what Kalonzo is saying, Kalonzo is only following the recommendation of NADCO report. And if they find when any single anomaly in the way it's being exercised or implemented, he has a duty to raise a red flag.
So it hasn't been breached.
If it hasn't been breached, why is they complaining?
If you read the statement,
finally,
what he said, he said in case the process is not followed as per the report.
No problem.
So they are anticipating an eventuality that hasn't happened.
Carefully following the process. Because we want a referee who is accredited by Kenyans and someone who is going to give a credible election process come 2027.
Let's see how the cookie crumbles, as they say. A day in politics is a lifetime. So by the time when the selection panel concludes, I'm pretty sure there'll be more developments playing out, and we'll be here as members of the Fourth Estate to bring our viewers up to speed. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. That's all the time we had. How time flies when you're having fun. I'm pretty sure there are more issues you wanted to converse, but that's all the time we had. We're joined by Kassim Tandazo, the Member of Parliament, Matuga Constituency, and Basil Roberts, the Member of Parliament, Yatta Constituency. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. That's how we wrap up tonight's edition of KTN Prime. Thank you so much for watching. Ashley Mazuri and our sign language interpreter equally pass their regards. Good evening. Have yourself a fantastic night.